Right, today we're back in the garage. Been having some issues with the fuel sending unit on the Supra. I think since when I did the rebuild back in December. The fuel pump sat, the fuel sender sat for a while, and the float got stuck. So now it's reading that I've got a full tank of gas when I know I don't. I've only got like 2 gallons in there. It says it's full. The light still works, so the fuel level light comes on, but the needle still says full. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna pull the gas tank out. Unfortunately, with this car, I have to drop the tank. There is an access port in the back of the car that makes it seem like you can access the fuel basket from inside the car, which you can't. So the little access port is just to unplug the sensors and things from the basket itself. So I'll show you guys that, and then we'll drop the tank. I'll show you what fuel pump I'm running. I'm running a Quantum 340 LPH fuel pump. It's been a pretty good fuel pump. I've had it for like 2 years in the car, and it's been fine. It's pretty quiet, and it's been able to keep up with what I need it to do. So today, like I said, we'll pull the gas tank out. I'll show you guys how to do that if none of you have done that before on this particular model Supra. There's a couple little tricks that you need to know as you're dropping the tank out that could save you kind of a headache, knowing from experience. So I'll dive into it and we'll go from there. So some things that you might need to do depending on what kind of exhaust you got on this car. I have a 3.5-inch turbo back exhaust, but it doesn't have a cat on it, so I can remove it right from the midsection, and I'm going to probably just remove that whole piece from the midsection all the way back to the muffler just to make sure that there's nothing in the way. So a couple things that you got to remember when you're pulling this gas tank out. There's going to be the line that comes up over the top of the gas tank, which is the one that runs to the front of the car, to the engine. So you have to undo that one, or the tank's just going to hang on that line, and then you could probably pinch it or have other issues with that. And then the straps on it as well, we'll take those off, and then we're going to use a jack to lower the gas tank down, and then we'll slide it out of the way. So there's a couple little things that you just got to look for when you're pulling this out. Make sure that nothing's hanging up on it, because if you just go to drop it, you're going to probably break something or pull some wires out, and then you're going to have to be fixing that stuff. So that's kind of a pain to do all that, so you might as well just be careful with it as you're dropping the gas tank out, and that way you don't damage anything. I'm going to pull this cover off first, show you kind of what we're working with, give you an idea. Remove these 3 screws. It would have been convenient to have them put the fuel sending unit right underneath this. I don't know if like the later models, like 92 before they went to the Mark IV, if they've changed any of that. I doubt it, and it's all the same. So yeah, so you pull that off, make sure not to lose your screws, and so there you go. So you got 2 plugs, you got this one here, and then you got this guy here. So the sending unit is up underneath here, so I can actually touch it with my finger. So it's about in this area right here, just outside of where you can reach it through this access port. So we'll go ahead and disconnect these 2 clips, and then take the exhaust off, and we'll pull the gas tank out. All right, these little clips can be kind of tricky. We've never worked with these before. So the clip is actually underneath this piece, so you're gonna lift up on it, and then it should separate. Over here, this one's a little different. You got a little push tab, you push down on that, and they separate. All right, so my job just got a lot easier. This access port right here is actually for the fuel sending unit. So here's the sending unit. There's the little float that tells you how much gas is in your tank. So I've always just been dealing with the fuel pump stuff over here. So like I said, I've replaced the fuel pump before, which just requires you to drop the gas tank. So I've actually never really messed with this. So I was kind of thinking to myself what that could be, and that's what it is. So it's the fuel sending unit. So if you guys are having problems with the gas tank not reading accurately or having issues or whatever, saying that it's full and it's not, this is going to be your issue. So this little float's got air in it. That's what rests on the top of the gas. When you fill it up, this little thing moves, and that's what's going to give you an accurate reading on how much gas is actually in the tank. Okay, got it all cleaned. It sounds like it's kind of binding a little bit still, but it's definitely not as bad as it was. So we're going to go ahead and toss that back in there. Just going to clean up around here, use a little bit of soap. Just going to clean up any of the leftover stuff from the gas tank, all the kind of the sediment and everything on there. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and throw it back in. I just looked at everything else. Everything else looks pretty good. As far as like the low light and everything seems to be in good shape. So okay, and if you're unsure on how this goes back in, there's a little grommet piece right there, and there's a little rubber grommet piece right there. So it's only going to go in one way, and then you'll see that everything will kind of line back up. But yeah, it'll only go in one way, and you're only going to use, let's see, 5 screws. All right, so I got the sending unit all put back together. The gas tank's still reading. You can kind of see it there. So it's still showing full, and then the light comes on when it's running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just pull the gauge cluster out. It's really simple. There's kind of a bezel that you have to take out first. I think it's like 5 screws. Pull the bezel out, and then there's just a couple screws on the outside of the gauge cluster itself. I'm going to see if there's anything on the back side of the gauge cluster, like if it didn't get connected all the way. I recently had the dashboard out when I did the flocking on it, so there's a chance that I might not have gotten it connected back up to where it needed to be, or maybe a wire got pinched or crushed or cut or something. So we're going to pull that out, look at it. It's really easy, really straightforward. If you do this, just make sure you're careful when you pull it apart. There's a bunch of connectors on the backside that if you just yank it out, you're going to break something. So it's got to be very careful. It's only going to come out one way. It's only going to go in one way. There's little tabs that catch the back of it. All right, so hopefully you can see this okay. You got to take off this portion right here. It just comes off. And then the portion over here, and again, it just has like little fingers that it just comes off. So you gotta be careful with it so you don't break the little tabs. So there's the one. I just let it kind of hang down there. Same thing on this side. You just kind of pull back on it, pull it by the shifter a little bit, and then it should come loose. So you are gonna have your hazard light switch up here. So make sure that you get that disconnected as it's coming apart. It's gonna be a little button there on that switch that'll allow it to come out. And then if you have any gauges like I do, I just make sure to unhook all that stuff just so I don't have any problems. And I'm just going to set that to the side. So I don't need to completely pull it out. There's still some wires. I've got a ground and everything for switches. All right, so when you're in here, you're going to have one right here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's kind of down in this corner. You're going to have one here. Mine's broken because I've taken this off and on so many times. So the piece of plastic that holds it in is actually broken. So you're going to have one there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that should be it. And that should allow this bezel piece to come out. Okay, so once you have those out, then this, you can kind of see it drops down and just kind of work your way around it. And it should pop out. So maybe work it more towards kind of pulling it down like this. That might help. Now in here, you're gonna have a couple screws in here. So be careful not to break these. They're really fragile, I think, just because of how old they are. But you're gonna have one here. So right underneath where you reset the odometer, there's one there. There's 2, 3, and 4. Some of these screws are the plastic kind of stripped inside, and so they're a little difficult coming out. They just want to span. But the trick that I do is I just catch my fingernail underneath the edge of the screw as I've got the screwdriver on it. I'm kind of applying pressure towards the screwdriver, and it'll start to pull it out. Just be super gentle with it. I've already pulled it out a little bit, but this little tab right here on this far right side, it's got to clear the all the AC and heating stuff, the control unit. So make sure not to just start pulling on this because you're going to break it. And then it will kind of tilt over. And you're going to have all your connections on the bottom side. And you'll see up underneath here, you're going to have like this green piece right here. When you're putting this back in, make sure you get that lined up. That's what's going to go to your speedometer. I ended up just pulling this all the way out. So you can see inside here, so this is the green piece for your speedometer. So make sure that that doesn't get broken or hit. It's got a couple little fingers that'll keep it from falling out. So make sure when you get that put back together that it goes back together okay, or you're not going to have a speedometer. So this is what the back side of it looks like. So speedometer, then you're gonna have other plugs and stuff up here, all the way down to here. I'm not seeing an issue with my fuel sending unit. It's gonna be this one right here in the middle. So probably this guy. So what I'm gonna do is just clean up the contacts and see if that's got it. If not, I wonder if the needle may be jammed inside here. So I'm gonna pull the plastic off. So this is where people, when they go to change out their clusters and they want to do something different, you just have to remove these screws on the top, and this glass piece should just come off. There's a couple screws on the bottom as well. Okay, just like I thought, the needle was actually seized. So I just pulled this cover off and the needle was actually stuck on full. So I felt like there was kind of some stuff in there, some gunk or whatever in there that was keeping it from dropping back down. So I freed the needle up. I just used my fingers and just kind of ran it back and forth a few times, and it freed up just fine. So now you can see it's on empty. So hopefully that fixed it. We'll try it here in a second and see. So I'm gonna hurry and throw it back together, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to just set this in like this, and they're gonna snap right in. Just make sure you get all of them hooked back up. You'll find out really quick if you forgot something, because something on your dash won't light up or it won't work. Make sure you push them all the way in so they're nice and secure, and then you know that you got it right. Okay, so I got all the plugs back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the top in first. It's kind of tricky. You have to kind of work with it a little bit and be very careful, because a lot of the stuff on the back side is very fragile, so you can break the tabs really easily. So typically what I do is I clear the first white ones on the top, and then I kind of push it into place with making sure that all of it kind of sits flush. So it'll drop in there like so. And like I said, make sure you clear this side over here, because you'll break that if you're not careful. My camera died as I was getting all back together, so got all the dashboard and everything back together, got the fuel center back in. It's still acting a little sluggish, like it doesn't want to fully move, so I don't know if the center's just shot. So I'll probably replace that later on down the road. So at least the light still works, so I can at least tell if I'm low on gas. But yeah, so hopefully you guys get an idea of how it is to pull it apart and put it back together. It's pretty straightforward, it's not super difficult. So, but if you like this video, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you guys have any other questions as far as this stuff goes, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And yeah, have some more super content for you guys in the future.